faithful, you know what time it is. It's time to play general manager for the San Francisco 49ers, and it's time to look into free agency needs and top priorities for the San Francisco 49ers. Yesterday, we looked at who should the 49ers bring back, who should walk. Now we're going to take a look at who the 49ers should potentially target on the open market and potentially bring onto the team. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about top priorities in free agency and some guys that maybe the San Francisco 49ers should target. So, before we get into all that good stuff, you already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat, smash that like button, and let's cook, baby. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. How are we doing today on this wonderful Wednesday? Shout out to all the homies. Hopefully, everyone is doing okay. Oh, detail. Vibes 100. Le content drought. Not only just, we don't have a lot of news going on, so there's not a whole lot of stuff to react to, and that's okay. But just how is everyone doing? Let's do a quick mental health check here because I find myself yearning, longing for the San Francisco 49ers, missing 49ers football, but I'm like, man, I think I'm still a little stunned from that NFC Championship game. How are you guys doing? Hopefully, we can bring some relief and provide some 49ers. I don't know, man. It's just, it's wild. We got some people saying depressed. Detail says it feels like mid-June. Some people are fine. Fine and dandy. Fantastic. Day after V-Day. Oh, come on, yeah. But let's keep it a buck, man. It's just I think after this week, the off season will kind of really feel like the off season. We still got a little bit of the hangover from the Super Bowl, and watching. Today was the parade, so got me in my manifestation vibes. I'm like, I feel like this is becoming a theme. Like every time a team is in the Super Bowl, I just start looking at old pictures of the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl, and I'm like, oh, or excuse me, on the parade after winning the Super Bowl. And it gets me in my feels, gets me like thinking about, man, when that day arrives and the San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl, hoist the Lombardi, and we get the parade. I can't wait to be there. And it's going to be the most glorious day in the world. And I can't wait for it to be here. But my goodness, I know you guys are a lot like me. You want it to be here already. we've been so damn close. So damn close. But we're going to keep our heads up. We're going to keep our chins up. We're going to keep vibing. It's another day closer to that sixth ring, right? So that's one way to look at it. We're one day closer to that sixth ring. Man, about a year away from potentially getting there. We'll get it. Hopefully, we will get it. Manifestation time. But my goodness, this offseason so far, it's been a wild one. and it's only been a couple weeks. Just kind of dealing with, the entire process of it, coming to grips that we're not actually going to be watching San Francisco 49ers football. I think what I've come to realize is that I think how the season ended, like, and again, we've gone through, we saw all the talk. We saw Juju and AJ Brown going after it on Twitter. Uh Gardner Johnson getting into it, Patty Mahomes getting into it. Obviously, we are in the new era where chirping on social media is a real thing. Um and it's very easy to clap back at someone and get the whole internet talking about it. So obviously, we're fresh off that, but I think just like the players are, I think I am. I'm salty. Just how it ended. The no closure, the constant debates about, is Kyle Shanahan a good coach? Is he a bad coach? Does he get all his quarterbacks hurt? Why does that happen? This, that. It's just like, man, if at least we got a game that was actually fully played out, like, we could understand better why it ended the way it did. But man, these hypothetical scenarios are killing me. Killing me. Killing me, Smalls. Chili says, appreciate the super chat. He says, hey, Brad, who is your breakout next season? I got Mason breaking out after a CMC injury. Also, drop the Discord. Just hit 300 members. Smash the like button. Let's go, Chili. Chili getting the Discord up to 300. Now, I'm not going to put that energy out there. I'm not going to put that energy out there that CMC is going to get hurt. But I could definitely see Mason breaking out. The one of the guys that does need to get healthy is Elijah Mitchell. Um, Elijah Mitchell, man, we know he's a talented back. He's got a lot of promise. Um, so I'm less about CMC getting hurt. I think preparing for maybe an Elijah Mitchell injury, maybe. But Mason definitely is going to have a big, big time year. I'm okay with that. I'm excited to see what Mason looks like after a full off season, uh, earning that trust from Kyle Shanahan and seeing what he can do. So I like that call out. Uh, the chat's going after Chili. Chili, we already have enough injury PTSD. We don't need to be foreshadowing future injuries in the future, especially to CMC. They're coming after Chili. Oh goodness. I know. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about injuries, man. We just got done talking about, we're like, man, we're in the off season trying to process a game where we lost both our quarterbacks due to injury. Chili's like, well, I think the injury bug will continue and we will have someone else. Love you, Chili, brother. Make sure, if anyone's got the Discord link, drop the Discord link in the chat. I need to poke my head in there more. But shout out Chili for getting that thing cooking, and appreciate the super chat. And thanks for the laugh. I needed it. Definitely needed it today. How do I make up? You're good, my boy. But what was the question? You did ask a question. Who is my breakout next season? My breakout, I saw someone talk about it in the chat as well. I think Drake Jackson. And I think Drake Jackson, a lot is going to be riding on the type of offseason he has. I think Drake Jackson, we've talked about this before. One of my favorite things about scouting these guys, and especially when you're able to draft, uh, a young player around the ages of 21. Shout out Jesus. He just dropped the Discord link in the chat. Um, so this is the thing. Because Drake Jackson is such a young player, he is not only going to continue to mature mentally, he's going to mature from a technical standpoint, but he's also going to mature physically. And we knew that Drake Jackson coming out of USC was he was like a raw canvas. Like, he has the tools, he has the traits. I don't think he really knew how to use them, and I think he talked about it as well. He was used as an outside linebacker, he was used as a stand-up edge. He was used in all different types of ways, and I think Drake Jackson, understanding what his role is in this scheme, being able to continue to get a full off season and in the off season program, being able to really work on building up his body. Um, Drake Jackson, I think, can get faster, stronger, and quicker. And one of the themes that we're going to be talking about too is speed off the edge. If we know Drake has the bend and he has the length, if he can add the burst and the speed and continue to work on those elements while refining his technique, Drake Jackson could be the biggest jumper from year one to year two. So I'm hoping for that for Drake Jackson because again, it's been a little publicized as of late that Drake, slowed down a little bit at the end. He wasn't available. They had him unactive, or they didn't activate him to the active roster on game days down the stretch. So I think that's enough where you could get some motivation out of Drake Jackson, and I think he could really take a big step forward. Not only Drake Jackson, I also think Spencer Burford is a guy in that same category as Drake Jackson. I think Spencer Burford is raw as well. He has good traits, good talent, good qualities, but he needs to refine his technique. He needs to refine his game as an offensive lineman at the next level. And when he does that, Burford will become a top 15 right guard in the NFL, but he still has a way to go. And if he can do those same types of things, just mentally evolve, keep keep chipping away, I mean, we have a lot of guys, man. You could have Samuel Womack bounce back. We saw Samuel Womack in preseason. I thought Samuel Womack was going to be the defensive rookie of the year for the 49ers. I thought he was going to be their best defensive rookie. But Jimmy Ward got bumped down to nickel, and we didn't really we saw Womack on special teams. Womack balled on special teams. So we have a lot of guys. Danny Gray could be a guy who takes a big step forward. We know wide receivers in Kyle Shanahan's scheme tend to take a step back. So there are plenty of guys. Marcelino McCrary Ball 100% could be a dark horse to fill that linebacker 3 role. Quantrez Knight, great. I love Quantrez balled out. Quantrez balled out in Minnesota for the joint practices. He had a phenomenal joint practice. The 2 or 3 days in Minnesota when I was there, he got multiple interceptions, multiple PBUs. Quantrez Knight, and he's got that dog in him too. So um there are some guys. And great question, Chili. That's how you redeemed yourself for the injury. The injury projection for CMC is a great question. Is a great question. Um, Ego says that CMC will be healthy all year. Putting it into the universe. Prayer circle right now. Prayer circle right now for CMC. Prayer circle right now for CMC. Drop your candle emojis in the chat because we need the good energy for for CMC. And shout out CMC, dude. Stayed healthy all year. Stayed healthy all year. And you know he was going through it. He had some nagging injuries, but he was able to get out there and he was able to ball. So we needed it. We needed it. Um, all right. We got I just seen our head sourdough scout is in the building. Uh you didn't miss much. You didn't miss much, Justin. Justin and we've been going back and forth about uh what edge we just said drop the candle emoji in the chat. Send good energy to Christian McCaffrey. Chili drops the dynamite. I like where we're headed on this live so far. this is this is quality off-season content right now. We said drop the candle emojis for good juju. Chili drops the TNT emoji. Nice work, Chili. He said blow it up. He said blow it up. I want Jordan Mason the ball. Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff. So let's dive in, shall we? We're gonna. I think I'm really gonna start focusing on the draft. Next week. I think we're gonna get our way through this week. We're the reason and the thought process behind this is we went through yesterday all the 49ers free agents, right? So we went from top to bottom. Who do we think the 49ers are going to re-sign? Who are they going to let walk? So we're taking it step by step. Now today we are going to take a step further and start identifying 49ers top needs and potential guys that they could sign in free agency because free agency comes before the draft. So they're going to fill needs through free agency and then they're going to supplement in the draft. So the whole purpose of what we're doing, think of it like a series, right? We are identifying step by step the holes in the roster, where they need to re-sign their own players, where they're going to look elsewhere, and then we are going to dive into draft season. Already starting to do my research. My head sourdough scout Justin's helping pull some DNs for me. The beauty of Justin is he knows my type of edge, so he's out here scouring edge prospects, and already found a good one. And we'll start to get more deep into actual prospects. Also, too, I'm going to have a guest on next week. Big time in the draft community. So not only obviously you guys know I love to scout, but I'm gonna bring on a guy who this is his job. His job is to talk about draft prospects and write about draft prospects and he's got some good credentials. So I'm gonna bring him in probably next week and we're gonna really just start draft season. I think is gonna officially start for me and us next season, and we'll kick that thing off. I'll let you know. He's confirmed that he's good to go. We just haven't set the time yet. So I'll let you guys know. But I'm going to try to sprinkle in some more guests. I know you guys know I'm kind of like a lone wolf solo kind of guy. I'm going to try to sprinkle in more guests, especially when oh, dude, you're laughing. You're laughing at this. I would love this. Someone get me in contact with Mike Mayock. He may have been a horrible general manager for the Raiders, but that's dad right there. That's draft dad. I love Mike Mayock, man. Um, I mean, I when I think of my love for the draft and love for scouting, like I think of Mike Mayock, man. Like dude on NFL Network breaking down prospects as the draft is going down. Like we get it. He was his run with the Raiders. Oof, I don't know if that was him. I don't know if that was Gruden. I don't know who was responsible for those picks, but Mike Mayock is a legend. I love Mike, man. I love Mike. That's draft dad right there. That's that's the homie. That's pops. So shout out Mike Mayock. Maybe not the best general manager, but he's a really good draft analyst and all that stuff. He did pick Crosby. Good point. Good point. But he did pick Leatherwood and Arnett technically, right? So um, it's going to be interesting to see. Uh, but that would be nuts. That would be a wild one. All right, let's talk about 49ers top needs, shall we? And we're gonna just work our way through. I've got my list written out of what I think the top needs are, but as you guys know, we are interactive, and I want to hear from you guys. So, um, most like I see a lot of you guys in the chat. A lot of you guys were here yesterday for yesterday's live. So we had kind of worked through. Maybe I'll just do a quick recap of kind of the thought process just to make sure we're all on the same page, kind of with how like we handle our own internal free agents and then how we're going to transition that into outside free agency. So again, I got the list here. Let's make it a little bigger. And this is what we decided yesterday. Also, I made some executive decisions, but this is where I'm currently at, and we'll go through it. Jimmy Ward, he's going to walk. Garoppolo, walk. We decided based on market value and trying to potentially get younger and faster at the position, we're going to let Ebukam walk. Emmanuel Mosley, his market evaluation was at 16 million per year on average. We said no to that, but that was per Spotrac because we believe that it's going to be more in the range of 6 to 8. If he's 6 to 8, we're smashing that. Emmanuel Mosley, come on back at 6 to 8 per year. Some were okay with getting up to 10. The sweet spot was 8. So that's where we're kind of sitting at. At that price, I'm bringing E-Man back. Mike McGlinchey is going to walk because he's going to get the bag. He's going to get paid probably $15 million a year by the Bears. Someone's going to pay him, and he's not going to be a 49er. We already know that. It's like we know it without knowing it. It's an interesting situation. Aziz Al-Shaair, same thing. We know he's gone. He is going to probably go to the Texans. Again, if I was a betting man, throwing all my money on Aziz Al-Shaair going to the Texans to be LB1 for D'Amico Ryans. This one, we were split. We were split on Robbie Gould. But let's take so remember, there were some parameters here. If you could get me maybe a 1-year deal that wasn't top 5, I would consider it. But if Gould is looking for a multi-year deal with top 5 money, I gotta walk. I know he's a phenomenal leader for a specialist. He's been clutch in the playoffs, all that good stuff. But I need to get better at other spots. So if he's going to require multi-year deal with top 5 money involved, I got to move on from Gould at this point. But there is a world exists where I can bring him back at a reasonable price. But it's really going to come down to dollars and cents because if I can save at kicker and that gets me an extra like tier up for defensive end, I will explore it. Chili says, Brad, I'm 10 steps ahead of you. Already made a Discord poll. Secondary has 32 votes. O line has 21 votes. D line had 17 votes. Other 1 votes. Nice. Good work, Chili Man. So I'll revisit this in a second. So kind of working through what we talked about yesterday. Again, this is a recap. We did like an hour and a half on this yesterday. Daniel Brunskill probably walks. I would keep him, but he probably walks. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets paid elsewhere. Hassan Ridgeway, I'm bringing back because I think I could get him back on a 1 to 2 year deal that is very cost effective. Bring in Ridgeway back, and he played really good for the 49ers last year in a role that we need right now. We need an IDL run stuffing type defensive tackle. That's who that guy is, bringing him back. Kerry Hyder, I'm letting Kerry Hyder walk. We're letting Tyler Kroft walk. Maurice Hurst, if you can get me him on vet minimum, more than happy to bring Hurst back. Dealt with injury the last 2 years. He's got talent. I'm gutted for him from an injury perspective, but if you can get him back on a 1 year prove it deal, vet minimum, bring him back. Gives us depth. If he doesn't show signs of improvement, easy to get out of that contract in training camp. So I'm bringing Mo Hurst back on 1 year prove it deal. Tashawn Gibson, definitely would bring Tashawn Gibson back. If that meant a 2 year, I wouldn't say I don't know if he would qualify for like a mid-level deal. Maybe. I think because he is contemplating retirement, I don't know if he would want to go to another place at this point in his career. I think they could get him back for a steal of a deal. And if you could do that while you search for the safety of the future, while you have Odom on the roster as well, I'm bringing back Gibson. If you can get him back at that price, done. Do it. Josh Johnson, no. Jordan Willis, you get him back on that price, do it. Tabor Pepper, come on back, Tabor. We're gonna let Dwelly walk. Jake Brendel would bring him back depending on what the market looks like. If Brendel is getting top 10 money from another team, that actually might make me, again, we got our GM cap on. We got our Parag Marathe cap on. I love Brendel. Brendel was phenomenal for us last year. He really proved to be a starter in this league, Pro Bowl alternate. But if he gets the bag from someone else, I might have to let him go and might have to see what we got in Nick Sikel, Jason Poe, draft my guy out of Old Dominion, Nick Saldivari. Like, you can find a center in the 3rd and 4th rounds of the draft that can come in and potentially start day one. Plus, you got some guys on the roster. Again, not proven, but neither was Brendel. I like Brendel. Brendel has to be cost. He has to. I don't want to cheap out on Brendel, but I also don't necessarily want to. I think you know what I'm saying. If we could find that sweet spot for Brendel, that's what I'm talking about. And then we'll more than happy bring Brendel back, 2-3 year deal. Right there on that sweet spot. Jason Verrett, I love Jason Verrett. I think his time as a 49er has come and gone. I don't know what the injury status is like. I would love him on the staff. I would love Jason Verrett you have to remember, Jason Verrett's been with the Niners since 2019. Like, he's been here a long time. We just have only seen him play in one real season. if if you can keep Jason Brett on the staff, love that. Um, I don't know about him and his playing future. DFF is a restricted free agent. D'Amico could uh, submit an offer for DFF. The 49ers could match it. I would imagine if a team offers DFF a multi-year deal to come be a special teamer and or rotational linebacker for them, they might let him go. But if no team does that, he will be back for the 49ers. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Kevin Givens, also an RFA. Same thing. Maybe D'Amico, who has knows him, maybe he throws an offer at him. Again, our restricted free agents, their rights are held by the 49ers, but these players can negotiate contracts with other teams, but the 49ers ultimately have the rights to whether they want to match that contract that's given to them. If they do match, player stays. If they don't match, player goes. So that could be a situation. Colton McKivitz, right now he's slated to be the right tackle of the future, if Mike McGlinchey signs elsewhere. So he's a RFA though. I don't think anyone's going to offer him. Um, so I imagine he sticks around and has 1 year to prove if he could play right tackle for an entire season. Tarvarius Moore, undrafted free agent. No, not undrafted free agent. UFA. Um, I believe that he is gone. Charles Omenihu, though, I would resign. I would bring back. We'd bring Charles back, and Jennings is coming back. So that's kind of our recap on what we talked about yesterday. Again, we talked about it in much more depth than this time around. But that brings us to our legitimate topic of the day is what are the San Francisco 49ers top needs? So again, Chili polled Discord and Discord said that secondary is the number one need. So that encapsulates multiple positions, right? Safety, corner, nickel. So any one of those positions within there. So Discord says safety, or excuse me, secondary. Second was O line. Third was D line. What do you guys? Let's go from the top. What would you say heading into free agency and the draft? What is the number one need for the San Francisco 49ers? And again, positionally, this includes starters and depth pieces. So like we need a starting safety, but we also need depth at safety. We also need a starting cornerback, but we also need depth at cornerback. So what would you guys have as your number one need heading in to, and again, based on that list where we think, most of those unrestricted free agents, it feels like they're gonna walk. So we're not gonna. It doesn't feel like we're gonna be bringing a ton of our own guys back. There's definitely a couple, but definitely looks like we could let a lot of guys walk. I'm gonna start with John first because he dropped a super chat on us, and then I'll go from the top down. Uh, John says, Brad, you asked most important cornerback, defensive back. Hey, right now it's Mooney Ward, it's Lenore, it's Ambry Thomas. Dante Johnson was out. We lost Dante Johnson for the season. I don't know if you guys remember that. We got George Odom and Talanoa Hufanga. I think that's it. Janoris Jenkins, he doesn't carry over to the next year. I think he's technically a free agent. So right now, Tarvarius Moore is scheduled to be free agent. Gibson free agent. So right at the top. Number one, I'm seeing from John, cornerback, defensive back. Ender says top need is O line or D line. So 1A, 1B situation for Ender. Harris is saying O line is my number one. Priority O line, O line, O line, edge, O line, O line, defensive tackle, line, center, right tackle, D tackle, right tackle, O line, particularly right tackle. Then pass rush, blockers, RT. So based on the chat, I see O line. Number one need for free agency. Based on talent and free agency pool, it's definitely going to be the tackle, pass rush, draft a left tackle for the future. This is the thing. We are in the part of the year where we're not just drafting for today, we're drafting for next year and we're drafting for the year after because we're not going to bring everyone back. We don't know if Brandon Ayuk is going to be back. Now, we would expect the San Francisco 49ers to at least at minimum pick up his fifth year option, but are they going to extend him? Are you going to have two wide receiver one contracts with Debo and Ayuk? So are the San Francisco 49ers going to be potentially looking for maybe another third round wide receiver? That could be an option. Again, we're not we draft for this team. I feel like historically drafts for need. You hear all the time in the draft community, go BPA, best player available. They draft for need more so than not. So, and we've seen, kind of the red shirt year. Look at Drake Jackson. Got kind of, he was behind Ebukam, and they're probably going to let Ebukam walk because they got Drake Jackson. They got Aaron Banks in the second, but they had Laken Tomlinson. Laken Tomlinson then walks the year after. Aaron Banks fills in. So you also have to keep that in. It's not just for this year. It's also for the following year that we also have to kind of keep an eye on kind of understanding what the needs are, not only for today, but for the future. O-line, cornerback, Bosa needs help. Peyton said, Brad, I saw your tweet on Will McDonald. I watched his tape a couple weeks ago and wasn't very impressed from the game I watched. What did you see with him? Interesting. I haven't done a full study on McDonald, so I'll be 100% transparent about that. I've watched some highlights, and I don't believe that's the best way to scout. I think you need to watch the whole game, and you need to understand the whole context of the game and all that type of stuff. But I will say you can pull traits off 3 plays. Like you can pull a snapshot of a guy. So that's the positives of watching highlights is you can pull traits, but it's not going to tell you the whole story. So from my Will McDonald kind of, and it's not a long process. I'm just now watching Will McDonald, but I will tell you, I see that speed off the edge. I see a relentless motor. I see a guy who's got a wicked spin, whether it's outside spin, counter inside spin. I've seen him spin like 3 times on one play. With Will McDonald, you see the traits. The traits pop off right away. He is also very productive as a college player. He's been a big time producer at Iowa State for 3 years. So there, I like so far what I've seen from Will McDonald. I see hands, I see technique, I see there's some bend to his game. I see an ability to work counter moves, and I see his ability to integrate a spin. Spin equals balance. You have to have a very specific type of balance to be able to initiate contact and spin one way or the other because you're using the offensive lineman's leverage against him to be able to initiate the proper balance to get one, not lose speed, but to create an ability to create uh, basically win to a side. So McDonald's been pretty good from what I've seen, but like I said, uh, it's not a full study yet. Um, Want to say secondary, but O line could have changed that last game. We had DT. Definitely haven't forgot about Womack. Um, Justin said he'd go edge for one. Justin and I are hungry for that edge. We're hungry for that speed demon. Uh, I'm waiting. O line. So based on the chat, offensive line appears to be top need. Um, I too have it as the top need based on my list. The reason why I have it as a top need, there are 5 starting offensive linemen. Currently, the San Francisco 49ers only have 3 starting offensive linemen. So, as you know, as an offensive line guy, and I do think McGlinchey is going to walk. Don't know about Brendel yet, but again, the topic before, looking into the future. You got to draft a center of the future, or you just got to keep drafting interior offensive linemen. You have to. Um, so, and also Colton McKivitz, he's an RFA this year. That means he's an unrestricted free agent next year. So Trent Williams doesn't get any younger. You still got to supplement the O line. So I believe O line is going to be. I have it right now as the starting. I have it as the number one priority because replacing 2 out of 5 starters potentially is a big deal, especially tackle. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the San Francisco 49ers go about addressing that. Will it be in the draft? Will it be in free agency? There's not a lot in free agency. If you're going into the free agency pool, you're getting worse at tackle. So that's the unfortunate nature of where we are at, is that by letting Mike McGlinchey go, as of right now, if you were to go into free agency, you are getting worse at right tackle. And I know that's hard for people to fathom because they don't like Mike McGlinchey, but that's where we're at. There's not a, even I started watching Jawan Taylor a little bit. I was like, oh, if you guys don't like Mike McGlinchey, you might not like Jawan. You might not like him either. Um, so it's going to be right now, the saving grace could be Taylor Lewan. If Taylor Lewan gets cut, he still wants to play. He's healthy. There's a chance you could get a good quality right tackle with him. But he's contemplating retirement. He's coming off a major surgery. So that's why I have it ranked high. Also, O-line biased, of course. So that plays into it as well. All right, what's number 2? If then let's go off. We'll just go off what it is. You don't have to agree, but based on just for sake of organization, O line is 1. What's 2? What is going to be the second need? Is it going to be defensive backs? Are you going to prioritize edge? I really think that's what it comes down to. You're trying to prioritize corner. You're trying to prioritize potentially starting a starting safety across from Talanoa Hufanga, a starting cornerback across from Mooney Ward, but you're also trying to prioritize the fact that you need edge help and you need IDL help. So, which one is more of a priority than the next? And I'll see what you guys feel, and then I'll tell you my thought process on it. Um, so right off the bat, again, we're talking about how do we rank and prioritize the second need for this team. Defensive tackle. Defensive tackle. He said it twice. Nice. Defensive tackle. Second need, defensive tackle. D line. Let's see. Cornerback. We got our first cornerback. Harris says defensive tackle. Derek Thomas says cornerback edge and then a quarterback. Ooh, spice. D tackle. Oh, tight end. Tight end's on the list. Spoiler alert. Tight end's on the list, but it is not my number 2 priority. Help both on that D line. Second need is cornerback. 1 O line. What's up, Greg? 1 O line, 2 edge, 3 defensive tackle, 4 defensive back. What about? Yeah, no, I guess safety would be included in that. That's not a bad one. That's not bad ranking. I don't know if I fully agree, but it's not bad. Definitely understand the logic. Edge and defensive tackle back to back. I definitely understand the logic. IDL, edge, get to the cornerback, and the corners won't need to be that great. Oh. 49ers went to a Super Bowl with undrafted free agent Emmanuel Mosley as a starting cornerback. Remember that. Why? Why were they? Why were they? And it was one of the better defenses we've seen for the San Francisco 49ers since the Fangio era. Why was it that way? Find another DJ Jones, D line, edge. So I think we're headed into the right direction here. Ray says tight end again. Kalen Saunders, defensive tackle, Chiefs. I liked him a lot coming out of the draft. Need someone like Chris Jones, big time. Whoo. I mean, we got Eric Armstead. Don't forget about that. But yes, we could use someone next to those guys. Kinlaw is gone by training camp or first cut. I don't know. I think a lot of people have been talking about cutting, and we'll just go on a quick tangent here. A lot of people have been talking about cutting Javon Kinlaw. I honestly don't see the benefit of cutting him because you don't get cap relief. He carries basically the same. He'll have a dead cap hit of if he was on the team. I think the plan for Javon is you're not going to pick up his fifth year option, but cutting him, especially before training camp, the only reason you cut Javon is if he just does not take a step forward and you need a roster spot. But we understand how it is. They carry like 11 defensive linemen. There's probably going to be room for him. They might not rely on him as being a potential key cog, but I also don't believe it makes a whole lot of sense to cut him because you're not saving anything. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I understand like why fans want him to be cut, but I think from a business standpoint, It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You're basically throwing out a player, you're not getting any cap relief, and you're just saying we're giving up on this guy. And I don't think they're ready to do that yet, but we'll see. So I am I'm with the chat on this one. I definitely think that, and I'm gonna say it as a group, I'm grouping edge and D line into the second top need. Uh, so as you can see here, the theme is on brand with the channel. It couldn't be any more on brand with the channel. Build in the trenches. Now, the San Francisco 49ers fundamentally believe that on the defensive line standpoint, it is my job and my duty to make sure that Kyle keeps that same energy on the offensive line. Now, he's getting better at it. Throughout the beginning of his coaching tenure, or in his kind of building of an offense, I haven't loved how he's handled the offensive line. I haven't. Um, Mike McGlinchey was his shining star at number 9 overall. Then he drafted Justin School in the 6th round, and then Colton McKivitz in the 5th round. And that was his investment in the O line through the draft up until Banks Moore and there have been a lot of offensive line that could be starting right now. You know, you guys know me. Like it's kind of a fool's errand for me. Like going into an offseason with Kyle Shanahan, because I'm like, I'm scouting all these O linemen and I'm like, they're not gonna draft them. They're not gonna take them. Burford, yes. Um, so they're starting to, they've made those investments the last 2 drafts. Um, but that first like 3-4 years, man, they had Persons at right guard. They paid big money to Weston Richburg, but he got hurt. Lakin turned out to be a great addition, which they traded for Lakin. Staley was awesome. Obviously, they trade for Trent Williams. So it hasn't been like they don't value O line. I don't think they totally value O line or have valued O line in the draft. I don't want to talk about this either because the San Francisco 49ers would be set if they got my boy Abe Lucas. It's one of my all-time favorite draft crushes. It sickens me that he is a Seattle Seahawk, and I gotta watch him lock up Bosa twice a year. Makes me sick. They did get Mac. So again, it's not that they don't value O-line. It's there's like a fundamental there's an interesting way that they draft the O-line. I still haven't cracked that code yet because again, part of what I do is I try to scout their tendencies, and I try to match like how I think they're going to draft to because I want to be accurate. So I'm like, okay, these are the traits that they've typically gone after. So I'm going to try to find someone to put into that hole. It's been really hard to try to kind of connect the dots with how they draft offensive linemen because Banks and Jalen Moore and Burford are much different than School, McGlinchey, and McKivitz. So there's some different thought process at play. But the ultimate point is, I think we all agree, 49ers got to solidify the trenches. Offensive line, number one priority. defensive line, number 2 priority. So the 49ers got to get, and it's crazy because, right, we've talked about it. I feel like since Bulky, D line in the first round, D line in the first round, DeForest first round, Eric Armstead first round, Olden Smith first round. I mean, Bosa obviously first round, but we go after a lot of D linemen in the first round to the point where a lot of fans were just like, stop drafting defensive linemen in the first round, Kinlaw first round. Um, we don't have a first round, so it'll be interesting to see if they take that same Solomon Thomas. Oh, you're right, Solomon Thomas. It's going to be interesting if they take that same thought process and apply it to free agency, where they can pay for someone like a Deron Payne or was it D'Ernest? Not is it Ernest? Ernest Jones? Uh, Draymond Jones. Sorry, Draymond. So it's going to be interesting to see how they manage that. But I think we're all aligned. So I think that means we're also aligned on what the third priority is going to be, right? Drop the third priority in the chat. What do you think number 3 is going to be? I think we're going to be on the same page here. Offensive line 1, defensive line, edge, and IDL 2. Again, we're doing more broad position groups, not individual. So what is 3? Actually, this is a great point. Oh God, shut up. We're talking about top needs going into free agency. It whoo, good point. But we're a little bit more spread out right off the bat. Corners, DBs, tight ends, safety, tight end. Third on the list is secondary, defensive back, third quarterback. We're a little bit actually more spread out than I was anticipating. And I think I might have misstepped a little bit. Secondary, mainly safety. We need a starting safety. We need a start. Depending on if they feel comfortable with starting Diamador and starting Womack, there could be a potential need for bringing in a corner, but tight end is very flimsy outside of Kittle. Ooh, we're pretty spread out here. I don't see this is the thing. I don't want to draft a quarterback. I'll be honest with that. I don't want to draft a quarterback. With this current circumstance, I don't think you draft a quarterback. You got to bring in a veteran. You got to bring in someone who's started in this league before. You have to have someone who knows the process. You already got 2 guys that are really young and still in the grand scheme of things unproven. You can't draft a third. You can draft a practice squad guy, like a 4th guy, that you can potentially keep on the practice squad. But I think the third quarterback has got to be a veteran, which is why I'm kind of reevaluating my list because I left off the quarterback. But I think that is important. I think getting a third veteran with starting caliber experience, you're going to have to carry 3 quarterbacks. So that's a good one. But the 49ers also need a starting safety opposite of Talanoa. They also need the safety depth for special teams, nickel corner. We're assuming it's going to be Samuel Womack, but who's the outside corner going to be? Is that going to be Diamador Lenore? Are they going to bring back E-Man? So that one's close. Tight end 2 is in need of a big time upgrade. Big time. So this one's actually tough for me. I actually think I'm going to make a little pivot here. Number 3 for me, we don't all have to be on the same page because I don't think there was one definitive answer one way or the other. I think who no, I gotta go here. I gotta go here. I gotta stay true. Number 3 for me is going to be secondary. It's got to be secondary because although I do think there's an importance to quarterback 3, it's quarterback 3. We need a starting safety, we need depth at safety, and we need potentially another starting caliber cornerback. So for me, number 3 is going to be secondary. Um, I got intrigued by the quarterback, but I'm gonna stay true to the secondary being number 3, top priority. Um, yeah, yeah. These are the tough questions. This is why we gather around and we have these conversations. You guys make me think. You guys make me think about things that maybe I haven't thought about. So I like these exercises. And this is why I think these kinds of conversations too are also going to help prepare us as we're doing what we do. We are in franchise mode. We're in 49ers franchise mode right now. So we want to build the best team that we can on paper. Again, John Lynch, I know you're watching. Adam Peters, know you're watching. Kyle Shanahan, know you're watching. We put a lot of effort into this. We think this out. We think it through. And you never know. Maybe they're like, this SDS group, these guys, they don't leave any stone unturned. They think about it all. That's what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna have to go secondary third. But that makes it a very interesting race, I think, for number 4. Is number 4 going to be tight end or quarterback? Which one? Is number 4 going to be tight end or quarterback? So we've got O-line, D-line, what secondary? Are we going third string quarterback, second string tight end? Drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Smash that like button. Oh, yes. I've been alerted from inside sauces that Kyle frequents the channel very much. Oh, I didn't even see this. Shout out, John. Appreciate the $1. Appreciate you, my guy. Also, too, I miss super chats from time to time. So let me know if I missed your super chat. But yes, do they really watch? Per sauces, they do. Per sauces. I mean, you guys remember John Lynch called me Nostradamus this year at a press conference. I'm just saying. Specifically called me Nostradamus this year. Just saying. Just saying. I'm just saying, though. I'm just saying. Just saying. We are the preferred channel of the 49ers front office. You heard it here first. Per sauces. per sauces. But let's see. Let's go back. Let's go back. We see. I see tight end. I see cornerback, or excuse me, quarterback. Tight end, linebacker, tight end, tight end, tight end two is a must. So feeling like, oh god, kicker. You might have to add kicker to the list if they don't re-sign Robbie Gould. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna go tight end because they need another tight end too. With how much they run 12 personnel, they run 12 personnel so much they need more tight ends. And it would be also great to be able to develop a tight end um, of the future as well. So I'm going to go tight end, then QB3 because I think there's a lot of quarterback threes available. We even have so many that we can put them into different tier groups and all that type of stuff. So, um, yeah, I think that's how we're going to go. So we're going to go top priority, offensive line, defensive line. We're going to go, what did we say? Secondary. Then we said tight end, quarterback, kicker in that order. Long snapper in that order. I saw something earlier. Where was it? Oh no, not that. Anytime anyone talks about Abe Lucas, I like get excited. It's like how you some of you guys know how to like trigger my excitement. You're just like Abe Lucas, and I'm like, what? My son, my draft son, Abe Lucas. Oh man, he's so good. I hate that he's so good. Oh, this was it. Abe Lucas, Drake Jackson, Kirby Joseph, TDP. Oh God, do you guys remember how big of a Kirby Joseph guy I was? I was also a crazy big Kirby Joseph out of Illinois. The Fighting Illini. I mean, this guy either knows me really well, uh, but I was huge Kirby Joseph. Huge. Huge. And of course, Abe Lucas. Love Abe Lucas. That's my son. That's my son. Kirby Joseph had a phenomenal year for Detroit, if you didn't know. Kirby Joseph played lights out. He's going to be a great player in this league. He was a super sleeper in last year's draft. Loved. I took Kirby in so many mock drafts. It was unbelievable. Ridiculous. The amount of mock drafts I did with Abe Lucas and Kirby Joseph, those are probably some of my top two mocked guys. I was speaking of Detroit, I was huge Amon-Ra St. Brown. No one was talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was like, you guys are tripping. How are you not talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown? I was like, I don't know if the 49ers need Amon-Ra St. Brown, but they should get him because he's freaking good. So, I love the draft, but it's like I developed so many like connections to these players and the 49ers don't draft them. And it's like, but I will say, George Kittle was just like Abe Lucas. George Kittle was that for me. George Kittle was one of my all-time guys. George Kittle's up there with D Hop. He's up there with like my all-time draft crushes. 49ers drafted him. So I give him credit there. Good job. Good job. They listened to me and they took George Kittle. Best decision they've ever done. Best decision ever. Thank you. Appreciate it. So actually going through the needs took longer than I thought. Oh yeah. That was fire too. And we got Lindstrom. And if we did get Lindstrom, he would have been dope. I feel like damn near the Commanders would have traded number 11 for Jimmy G, man. I feel like they were that desperate. I think it would have happened. Let's take a glance. We're not going to do super deep dive. Let's take a glance though at some players. This will give us more opportunity to do a deep dive on this later. But let's take a look at some players that the 49ers could be interested in. Again, we got through our needs, right? Let me just make sure I remember our rankings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we said 1 O-line, 2 D-line, 3 was, for me, secondary. 4, we said tight end 2. Tight end 2. 5 was quarterback. 3 and 6. Can't forget kicker. So those were our priority rankings. And these are some of the free agents that are available. Javon Hargrave, that would be a phenomenal get, but he's probably going to get paid. Had a fantastic season. I don't know if the San Francisco 49ers are going to be dropping 18 million a year on Hargrave, but it would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could be nice. Appreciate the $10 super chat, Gammon. He says 49ers highest pick is number 99 in the 3rd round. Mike is number 10 according to PFF free agents. Realistic that we can upgrade Gibson, Ward, Moore, all free agents. Cause for concern. Gibson cheaper than Ward, more athletic. So we talked about this earlier, Gammon. Appreciate the super chat, but like I said, with Mike McGlinchey being the best, basically the best free agent offensive tackle available, if you're trying to go into free agency or into the draft with the capital that you have and where you're at, you're likely downgrading at tackle. And I know a lot of 49er fans are done with McGlinchey, but without paying McGlinchey, we are downgrading at the position. And I just, I don't think fans have like connected that dot a whole lot. Some definitely have, but if you're moving off of McGlinchey, you are downgrading at tackle. And people don't like McGlinchey. Well, then you're definitely probably not going to like life without McGlinchey unless Colton McKivitz slides in and can do a really good job. So there is a potential chance, but I don't necessarily believe the 49ers are going into free agency to be able to sign a big-time free agent at tackle. I don't think it's going to happen. The outlier is Taylor Lewan. He's my outlier. He can maybe come in on a 1 year, gives it one shot. We'll see. But really, I think it's going to be Colton McKivitz, and they keep trying to draft. They have Jalen Moore, and they just keep attacking the draft with O line picks. They could trade up. But yeah, I don't think we should be going into this offseason expecting to upgrade at right tackle. I know people are excited at the fact that McGlinchey is probably not going to be here anymore, but you also have to understand that's coming at a disadvantage to the O line. They're probably technically at this standpoint feels like a downgrade, but we'll see how it ultimately plays out. Actually, you had some other things in there. Uh, Gibson, Ward, Moore, all free agents, cause for concern. We talked about that. Secondary is definitely going to be a need, but we're hoping to get Gibson back on a team friendly deal, and that allows them to potentially go and get like a third round safety in the draft. I know Chauncey Gardner Johnson, I believe, is going to be free agent. It's going to be interesting to see what he requires, and if he also fits the culture. Um, he seems to that seems to be his problem is kind of those intangibles. He seems to be a good player, but he was a fourth round draft pick for a reason. He hasn't stuck for a reason. Um, it would be nice. I'm not lying. I don't think it would be bad. I think that you got two hitters on the back end, but it would be interesting to see, especially from a guy like John Lynch, who is a former Hall of Fame safety. I imagine he has some input on that position, so it's going to be interesting. But these are some of the guys. You got Javon Hargrave. I don't know if they're going to try to go after him. Jamal Dean is definitely a good cornerback. I don't know if they're going to go after him. This is the guy that a lot of 49er fans want. You see that 25-year-old. He's a 25-year-old. Deron Payne plays interior defensive tackle. He's really good. He's really good. And he would pair so nicely next to Eric Armstead on the interior, and then putting a speed guy on the outside of him, he'd be phenomenal. But he's going to be pricey. He's going to cost a lot of money. Um, I think, we'll do a little bit more of an exercise where I think the 49ers have an opportunity to clear a lot of cap space by restructuring. And we know Parag Marathe, he's a wizard, so he'll figure it out. But Deron Payne is a guy a lot of fans like. James Bradbury, I'm okay off Bradbury. Dalvin Tomlinson might be a more cost-effective option. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't hate that pick. I think he'd fit in nicely. You might be able to get him for a price. I like Draymond Jones. Again, might be too pricey. I like the traits that he provides. His really good size. Um, you know, and I think he would play really good in the three tech. Maybe not so much so as a nose tackle or like a zero tech, but I still like what he brings to the table. You've got other guys, Zach Allen. This was a guy that Aponte talked about to bring in on the edge. Um, so there are some definite guys that the 49ers could go after. But again, it's all going to come down to how they can restructure. Is Marcus Peters maybe a guy that they want to bring in for cheap? I doubt it. Maybe a Sheldon Rankins you can get for cheaper, but has some potential, uh, and has some upside for his price. So it's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers go after this and attack this offseason. Poona Ford. I wouldn't mind Poona Ford. He didn't have a good year last year, but I wouldn't mind Puna. So it's going to be interesting, but you can kind of see where we're at. And so we've been able to kind of go through and identify who we think's coming back and prioritize who we think the 49ers are going to go after. So now this is going to help us build our offseason plan for trying to now prioritize between draft and free agency. Do we need a plug and play now? Can we afford to draft a guy that might take some time to develop? And then we're going to start piecing the puzzle together. But I think today was a good exercise. We've had 2 good exercises in a row. Just kind of breaking down this team and, kind of looking at all the options, because there's going to be a lot of moving parts here this offseason. The 49ers have a lot of draft picks, none in the top 100 really. And it's going to be a lot of stuff to get into this offseason. But definitely going to start the scouting process, going to start getting into who we should be drafting and all that good stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Want to thank you guys for tapping in. Make sure you grab your cookies on the way out. And we'll be back to talk more glorious 49ers offseason. Appreciate you guys as always. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Maybe we'll do a day where we cook up some trades too. We're in full-blown franchise mode, so I hope you're prepared. Hope you're prepared for this offseason. This is where we come up with crazy hypotheticals. This is where we figure out how to trade for Brian Burns. This is where it all happens. So get ready, get prepared, and we're going to have fun with the offseason because guess what? It's hypothetical season. Appreciate all you guys as always. We see all the cookies coming in. I'll see y'all tomorrow, and we're going to vibe then. All right, later, y'all. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.